Okay, I'm up. I've been up a while, but I've been making phone calls. And I don't know what times. Wait, the thing that with getting up late, I'm on VCU campus and a lot of traffic. I'm trying to get the dogs to the graveyard where they can run around. Because after being cooped up and stuff like that, it's all fenced in. I tell people about it that have nice dogs. If your dog's like an attack dog, I don't think it's a good place for you. But it's pretty isolated, and you kind of feel like you're in the country, and it overlooks the river. And it's a nice place to walk, and I'm not going to tell you where it is, but it's Riverside. Um, and I was mesmerized in LA when I met a couple of different movie stars, just happenstance. Johnny Depp was serving some cake in the Welcome Center during an event, and I was hungry, so I was like trying to race for the piece of cake. I mean, I just looked at him and I was like, huh, interesting, Johnny Depp. And then I was really all about the cake, and he held me back because he didn't want me to shove the woman who was already taking her time serving herself. He said something about, just wait a minute. So he put his little arm out and he didn't really touch me, but he kind of made a barrier so I couldn't I was hungry. I was freaking homeless. But no, he seemed nice. So when I study, I see white American culture, and in general, most have a better financial situation. Some too much. Some's very greedy, and I do think that comes from an Ayn Rand mentality. People it's really difficult not to get misguided about ethics, and you buy things that are not good for the environment, promoting that, you know what I mean? And just because you have the money, and you're just all about, and it can come in relationships, but it blinds you to the correct details of a situation if you're kind of egotistically greedy. And it does make you feel good for a moment. It's like a drug. It's like a shot of heroin almost to do something that you want to do that's greedy, which might be having sex with people you don't love or care about. I think that's pretty greedy. Ludos, we would call that. And I don't understand how two people can do that really at an adult age, maybe at a childhood age where you're under 18 or something, but, without the details of a relationship, the energy, synergy, we call it. Because you're trying to make the world a better place, and if you're making the world a better place, it's with a child, you're having a baby, so to speak, or at least you pretend you're having one. And children, if they're educated and well taken care of, have the ability to make the world a better place. In fact, children are the art. I can do as many paintings as I want, think they're as good as I want, but when I see my grandchildren, that's a piece of performance art right there from our, teaching them and taking care of them, making sure their needs are met. Unfortunately, some of our people are not financially capable of doing that. And the two areas in which I see the worst are the ones that white people devastated their culture a number of years ago. And that would be the Native Americans and the black people. And I guess some Hispanics. I'm sorry, I don't know as much about that. I know a little bit about that, but Kent would represent Hispanics because he spoke Spanish. He taught himself Spanish at 37. So that, I guess because of poverty or being poor, they would break the law. So what do we do to make it better? I know it's like kind of big gestalt, but I think you need to recognize, I think, two things: what you need and what you want. And I think you need to do some for charity. I think everybody, with the 6 loves of Aristotle, to be a complete person, you have to do all those: Ludus, Agrippe, Eros. You can't really do without one of the. If you do without the charity love, like Ayn Rand is about, seems like, in which Aristotle, she said she read Aristotle. I'm still like, you gotta be kidding. You didn't read John Locke, you didn't read Diogenes, you didn't read, I mean, her philosophy is so outstandingly horrible that I just couldn't read it. I read a couple pages, and I'm like that about books. If it's not well written, I just don't read it. But, you know, there's a lot of crappy, cheap books that people get into, and they read them, and that's one of the philosophy. I mean, Thomas Jefferson, I don't know how to explain it to you, but the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, it protects our freedoms. And it just seems that Ayn Rand is slamming us with greed, like the ideal that it's okay to assert yourself beyond morality to get ahead. I don't even think she talks about that. Not that I've heard. You know, it's like the winner takes it all, but then you take along a devastation of cultures, which, not that, I mean, that happened back when England was coming over here, and I guess they felt like they needed the land to plant tobacco and have slaves to plant tobacco, and the natural resource. It was probably a thing of survival. Whereas we've got it so chemically altered and maintained in laboratories and stuff today. I mean, we can't have innumerable amount of peoples, but it seems like we could all coexist, just like that little sign they put out there, coexist, if given the opportunities. And where I think that where the black people need is education. I think they need to compete in a world. Did I bring Holly? Holly! Oh, good, you're here. God, I forgot a dog. So I think that's what they'd like to do. But, you know, I especially think that from their culture and tribal rituals, they're very musical people. Most of them are very gifted in dance. And in our inner city, just here in Richmond, there's really hardly any opportunities for them to, I mean, we might really get some amazing professional singers and dancers if they're trained, but the opportunities aren't there for them. And even if we do the music building, they can have dances there. It's on clay. It says clay on it. Lessons, 501c3, so you go on the income. They get instruments. And this is all prevention of jail time, too. So, you know, I'm trying to make it financially plausible. And the way I do that is say with the preparation in their childhood for being a successful adult, they'll avoid jail time, which, now can one year for one person is $27,000. It's like a year of college or more. So I don't know if I'm the only one that sees it. That's the visionary in me, the artist. I'm like, I've tried to explain it so many times, but like nobody gets it. That you have to raise the children and give them opportunities and a reason to live and skills to survive in the world. Sure, if you want to leave them over in the projects and you think they're bad people, you just don't know them. You just listen to the news. They're people that would jump at any opportunity to train for a career that would support them. And right now, all we're doing is give them jobs like McDonald's, and they put in the fast bus. That's so you can get on and go really fast to your menial job up in the West End and serve the West End people. But they're not giving you anything in education to become independent. And, you know, if my parents had done that to me, given me handouts like, well, here's food and here's a place to stay, I don't know if I ever would have been, you know, I had to make a move. I had to make a move because that was closing down. So the in-between step for me was college. So you get a few years of college and you learn to live on your own, and then you thrive. You know, depending on what you study, you might can pursue a job in that. But I mean, trade school can be the same way. But if you don't do those things, And I know they have incentive now for colleges and trade. I'm not sure. I think the parents should also have the same incentive as the children, because they want to look at their parents positively. You don't want to waste their lives. It's not right. I mean, they're from Africa originally. I don't know what their tribal life was like, but they came over here and they did a lot of stuff for us. That's when I'm embarrassed to be a white person, and I can't say I suffer. I mean, my family has been pretty much a ruling family of Virginia for 400 years in some form of government kind of thing, or doctors. So I've had a kind of a prestigious, which I didn't realize because we always did, so we're like saving, we kind of lived in the Depression. Oh no, you can't get those expensive shoes. We have to save money. So I wasn't like thrown finance, that was not an appeasement for us children. We got our 10-speed bicycles, which I can't say they do that in the projects. So, if it's not incentive enough to do the right thing for the right reason, consider yourself and your own greed and how your taxes are being paid. And then when you send your kids to city schools or even any public schools, the teachers, they're begging for people to teach. They don't have enough teachers. And that's because the wages are so low that the quality of their life, the smart ones, we get some real gifted teachers that bite the bullet. But the fact is, the quality of life and the energy force is the financing. So, what if they want to take their children to Europe in the summer to educate them? God, they don't even have enough money to fix their car for $40,000 and 3 kids, 2 kids, whatever. So to me, it's just a no-brainer to do the early preparation of the inner city black people that are struggling to have integrity and survive. How do I be a good person without skills, without technical school, without some guidance and therapy if I've been abused? I have this friend that his dad used to whip the shit out of him all the time. He's an alcoholic, and he's like, I deserve that. I said, no child ever deserves. But inside him internally, that is part of his being, is being negatively parented by his father. So that's why I'm saying we need to get the parent. It's not going to just work unless you can also change the parents a little bit to a higher education. Just menial jobs, no money for years and years, and almost generations after like Glenn worked. She dropped out of school in 3rd grade. So I guess I've beaten this boat to the harbor too many times, but it sure as hell would make my life better if I could see the kids on swim team next year. See, just a little baby step, but that's a huge step to teach them how to swim. And the funny thing is, we've got 7 pools. The cost is less, about the same as 1 year. The cost to do the swim team, it's priceless, but the cost to do the swim team is less than a person doing 1 year in prison. To educate 1,000 to 1,500 children at the pools on swim team, and then they have a basic skill to build confidence on. Well, I did swim team. Well, maybe I can take on this algebra problem. If you don't swim and you don't know how to swim, it's an insecurity. And don't tell me they're not capable of swimming because they're black. Then you super race. Black people don't know how to swim. You're ignorant as fuck if you think that, because they do need to have opportunities to swim and a teacher to teach them. I've met some people that have taught themselves, but the majority don't, and they don't teach themselves right, so it's really awkward, their strokes. They can be very beautiful, creative, abstract ideas in the making when you watch a butterfly or do their work. in the pool. And then the Native Americans find the land that would make them happy. Give them a piece of land to do a resort on, whether they're desert or ocean front. I think, they can get out and work a job. They can go to college and do that if they want. But I also think, different cultures have different kind of energies to them. And the Native Americans are so earthly and spiritual and animal, they worship animals. And so the ones that want to stay in a tribal situation, please move them back to an area that's conducive to their tribe and the beliefs of their tribe. This country doesn't belong to anybody in particular. It's being run by a lot of white rich people. But when you think of the humanity, the Native Americans, not just because they were here before us, living on the land and not making any pollution, their culture is very important. I mean, it's a very serious, important culture that we do not destroy. And we've tried. The evilness of the white greed of having more children. Come on, get in the car, you guys. Bigger houses. The abundance of the United States of America is about filled up. We're going to have to go less, and more minimal. I'm not giving you a basis of child rearing, but get in the car. You two are driving me crazy. Get in the car. I'm cold out here. Ugh. You know what I'm saying. And you just won't do it. They know I'm distracted. They're like little kids. When they see their mother on the phone, they go and they get in all kinds of trouble. My dogs know when I'm distracted on the phone. It's colder out here than I thought. Come on. Okay, so Native Americans need to be taken into we need to fix USA. I'm saying before we go. I can do global stuff too, and we do a lot of that, but there's some simple little changes to make our country more memorable for tourism. And we're doing things right. Instead of just being greedy Americans, we do the right things instead of the greedy things.